We're going to my next video in this series about games that I really like, and this one is Ghost Fightin' Treasure Hunters. Okay, so I did not realize that this was happening until after I had filmed this video. And it was like around the time I started to edit it that I noticed this and was like, what? So there is, coming out in December, an anniversary edition of Ghost Fightin' Treasure Hunters. Okay, I had thought that this game was out of print and had been out of print for some time. And it looks like for its 10-year anniversary, because it was 2014 when it came out and won the Children's Game of the Year, that they are making an anniversary edition of it. Like I say, coming out in December. It looks like it's going to have all the regular things of the base game. But it looks like there's also a mode in here where you get to play as the ghosts. But yeah, definitely if this looks like it interests you, it looks like there is a version of this coming out with a little bit more functionality to it. Coming out here in December of 2024. So that would definitely be worth getting. Now, Ghost Fightin' Treasure Hunters is a co-op game. It was more marketed as a children's game, although it is a pretty fun game. We can see here that it has this on it, which says stuff in European, and that means it's a fancy game. This is a simple game for 2 to 4 players, and basically you are a team of treasure hunters. You've got to get into the haunted house to get out the treasure and deal with all the ghosts and hauntings that are in there. So a lot of people have pointed out, mechanically speaking, that this is a very simplified version of the game Pandemic, and there are a lot of things in it that do function the same way. But let's go ahead and take a look at what all is in the box here, and I will go over what is going on with this game. So first of all, this is a game that comes with a nice plastic insert with places for everything in it. Well thought out there. They get thumbs up for that. You have your board, which is the haunted house slash mansion. Probably a mansion because it's got a lot of rooms. You have your 4 treasure hunters. They all are slightly unique. There's difference in the haircuts and the pants and shirts on the guys. And of course you do have the girl. One of the nice things that I like on these molds here is that the treasure tokens can go into the backpack and be carried around by your character, which is nice. This is, of course, a roll and move game, which a lot of people don't like because of the randomness that can happen with it there, but that is how the game works. We have a number of different cards here, which will be part of playing this game. And we have all of our ghosts and all of our hauntings. So the simplest place to start with is going to be setting up the game. There's a basic game and an advanced game. I'm going to go over the basic game with you first. So first of all, every player is going to pick their treasure hunter. The treasure hunters all start here at the front door outside of the mansion. For the basic game, we are going to use the cards lettered from A to L, and we are also going to use this shuffle card, which will be put into the deck. These other cards here, the blue and green doors, and the shuffle and draw cards are not going to be used in the basic game. We're also on the treasure tokens. We're going to have them face down, and we are going to ignore the numbers that are printed on them. All of the rooms that have the letter in this reddish orange color instead of the blue like that get one of these treasure tokens. We're not going to put the treasure tokens on either of the circles or over the letter that is in it there. Then we're going to look at the ones here that have the ring around this green circle. We have the basic green circle and then the one with the ring. The one with the ring start with a ghost on it. So put ghosts on all of the ringed circles. And then your deck, which you would shuffle up, would start right there. So your goal for the game is to get your treasure hunters to go in here, get all the treasures out. You have to go in, take the treasure, take it all the way out and drop it off. So you have to get all of the treasures out. That would be all 8 treasures have to be taken out. You also have to get all 4 of your fighters out of there. And you have to get that out before it gets taken over by 6 hauntings. Once the 6th haunting goes onto the board, you have lost. So one thing that is really important, like most games, is going to be this turn sequence that you have listed right here. The turn sequence is going to be roll the movement die, reveal the ghost card, move, pick up, drop off jewels, and then fight. And that's the order that you can do things. And everything always happens in that order. So the first thing you would do is you would, if you were going to play, you would take your die and you would roll. The next thing you would do is determine if you need to draw a card off of here. Now your numbers on the die, as you look on each of the sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now you'll notice that 6 does not have a ghost on it. All the others have ghosts, but 6 does not. So if you roll any number besides 6, you have to reveal a card off of the top of the deck there. If you roll a 6, you do not do this step. But the cards would come out, and you'll see that the cards, as I show you here, all have a letter in the corner. These are going to be A through L. And if you look at the board here, we have rooms lettered A through L, roughly going in this order. And let's say that we were to grab the card for room A. Well, then we would drop a ghost there in A. If we were to grab C, we would put another ghost there in room C. That card would then go off out of play, and you would have the others sitting on there. Additionally, in the basic mode, we have one other card that is in the deck, and that is going to be the shuffle card. Now, the shuffle card means you're not going to place a ghost anywhere, but what you're going to do is you're going to take the discard pile and the remaining deck and shuffle those together, including the shuffle card, which does shuffle back into it. So one thing you can think about mechanically here is that once a room goes out of the deck and gets played, you know, in our case where we had put an additional one on C, well, C is now out of play, and C is not going to show back up until these get shuffled again. So you're going to have some time until C could potentially have another ghost put on it. Now I can hear a lot of you looking at this already and being like, okay, Jeremy, I see in this room that there are 2 spots for ghosts, and every room has 2 spots for ghosts. So what happens if you have to add a 3rd ghost? Well, those ghosts go away, and now you have a haunting. And a haunting is a big deal, because a haunting, obviously the game's over once 6 of these go out. There are ways to get rid of ghosts and ways to get rid of hauntings. Hauntings are harder to get rid of. There's also some other things that happen with hauntings and your jewel tokens there. So for moving your fighters, moving would be the next step. It would be roll, reveal the card, and then move. Okay, well, if you rolled a 1 like me, you can stay where you are or move 1 space, because you can move up to the number on the die. So if I were to like roll that 6, I could go up to 6 spaces. 2, 3, 4 if I wanted to. I could stop there. I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and go into that room on a 6. Let's say it was a 2 and we just go to right there. But with the 1 that I rolled, I just go right there. Now the next player who rolls, they would get a 2. They'd do their card reveal, place the ghost. They can go up to 2 spaces. Now you can move through other players. You can be in the same room with another player. You cannot be on the same hallway space with someone. So I can't go 1 and stop. I would have to go 2 in this case and go there. The next step on the turn sequence would be to pick up a jewel. Let's say that we had rolled a 3, 1, 2, 3. We could come in here, pick up that jewel, and stick it in our backpack. Boom, right there. It's in the backpack. Your little fighter's holding it and running around with it now. Then the last step would be fight a ghost. Now you have to be in a room with a ghost. Now if we were to roll a 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we could go here. We could pick up the jewel. Now one thing that happens when you pick up a jewel is if there is a ghost in the room when you pick up a jewel, you have to fight it. Fighting always happens after everything else. It's the last step. And pretty much if you can fight a ghost, you want to go ahead and do it. So in this case, since I have one person in there, I would take one of these fight dice. You have 3 sides that have a ghost that have a haunting, so 1 in 3, and then you have a 1 in 6 chance of just nothing happening. So you would roll it. In this case, nothing would happen because that's a haunting. That's a haunting. There was a ghost. Now, additionally, if you have 2 fighters, 2 of your players in the room, you can roll both of these dice. And if either of them roll up a ghost, you can get rid of it. This one was a haunting and doesn't remove it, but that one was a ghost. So that one can be gotten rid of. So you can see your chances go up pretty substantially to be able to roll a ghost. Now, what would happen if this was a haunting? Well, if it was a haunting, you have to have 2 players in there to deal with the haunting. You can't just get them with 1. You roll the dice, and if either of these are a haunting, you get rid of it. In this case, we wouldn't because they're both ghosts. Additionally, if you were to be in a room with 2 ghosts and you were to roll 2 ghosts like that, you could remove both ghosts. That's another advantage to having 2 players in the room. That doesn't get rid of the haunting. That did get rid of the haunting. We have 1 that rolled it. Took us a few tries there to get rid of the haunting. You don't always get rid of them right away. Now, some other rules here. If you are in a room with a haunting and you pick up a treasure, you cannot leave that room until you get rid of that haunting. So you're going to have a buddy go in there, and the 2 of you are going to have to roll to get rid of it. Now, one weird side effect of that would be if we were to have a weird thing like this happen, and everybody were to be in a room with a treasure and a haunting, because you would pick up the treasure. So in this scenario here, you're all in a room carrying a treasure, and you have a haunting in that room. Since you can't leave the room because you have the treasure, and you can't get rid of the haunting because you can't get another player to go in there, the game's basically over. You just lost here. So try to not let that happen. Now, all hauntings that have left the board go back to the pile, and the same with the ghosts. So going over some other stuff, let's say there's a haunting here in A, and we go and we pull a card off the top of the deck, and it ends up being an A. What happens when we have to put a ghost in A? Because we can't put a ghost in A because there's a haunting in there. It would go to the next letter, which would be B, which means if B were to have 2 ghosts, B would become a haunting based off of A. Now let's say that B had a haunting and you draw A in this scenario. Can't go to A, can't go to B, goes to C. And if C had 2 in it, that becomes a haunting. So you can see how hauntings can very quickly multiply and really take over this game very, very quickly. You can go to having things in control to having things out of control. You got to make sure you're going through there and taking care of all the ghosts and stopping hauntings from happening and stopping hauntings from escalating into more hauntings. And then concerning picking up the jewels here, once you pick up a jewel, you can go around the board and do whatever you want to do. You can go to other rooms and fight. You could just book it straight out and drop it off. You have to go not just to this space here to drop it off, not just there. You've got to go completely outside to drop it off and get rid of it. And also, going out here, dropping off is after the movement, so your turn ends with you outside there. And then, of course, once you get all of the jewels out of there, you also have to get all 4 of your players out of there. That you can't leave anybody inside when it goes haunting. You got to get all the jewels and all of the ghost fighters out. So if there's anything I missed, you can find it here in the rule book, which you can see is not all that big. This is not a particularly complicated game. Now that is everything for the basic game. What about the advanced game? The advanced game is going to introduce a few other elements into the game. Firstly, these numbers that are on the bottom of all of them, these are all going to matter now. And what's going to happen is these are going to be randomly distributed. The numbers are going to be wherever they lay on the board here. These numbers mean that these have to be taken out of the house in that order, which means in this case, the number 1 jewel, which is right up here, has to be the first one taken out. Now, the number 1 jewel is sitting in this spot here in this game. Since they go around randomly, it could be in a different room on other games. Now, these were all in the order that I laid them down there, so we would want to shuffle these up good and just kind of like that in this order here. Now the ones up here. So this is the first one you got to get out. It's all the way up in that corner there. Now you could pick them up in any order. You know, let's say we're going around like this here. This one's going off here to head to 1. This one's going up here to 2. This one may beat that one and go ahead and pick up the 2 first. And then the one at 1 can pick it up. And then they have to get them out of there, but they have to go out in the order, which means that if number 2 gets to right here, the one here at this space is going to have to wait for number 1 to get down here and pass them to drop this off. And this just adds a little bit more difficulty to the game, having to drop off the tokens in that order. Additionally, we have some other cards that come into play. That is going to be the green doors, the blue doors, and the draw and shuffle cards. And the way the doors would work is you would draw one on there. When you would roll and draw, you would draw it off. If it is blue, this means that blue doors are now locked. So that door, that door, that door, that door, and that door, and that door, all being blue, and that one. All these blue doors are locked. You'll set that here to the side. You'll set that there to the side so that you remember that blue doors are locked. That is going to stay here until another door goes on top of it, or until you get a shuffle that makes you shuffle it. So if you were to draw a green door, the green door would sit on top of that one. That unlocked the blue doors, and now the green doors are locked. You don't have both blue doors and green doors locked, because then you can't get in or out of any rooms. So that would unlock the blue doors and lock the green doors. And this, we have 2 green doors and 2 blue doors that locked. When it's shuffled, all the doors pick up, go back into the deck, and are shuffled like normal. Now, I mentioned the shuffle. You still do have this shuffle, but you also have some draw and shuffles, which will be the 2 and the 3. You see 2 fingers, that means draw 2 and shuffle. 3 fingers, that means draw 3 and shuffle. So that means you would draw 2 off the top. In this case, it would be F, and then lock the green doors. You could, if you ended up getting 2 letters, you can end up having F and L, both end up having to be drawn and enacted. And of course, since this is a draw and shuffle, after you draw and do those, all the cards shuffle back in. This one's a draw 3 and shuffle, and you can guess what's going on here. The same exact thing, except now it is 3 cards. So it's 3 cards. Once you get the 3, all of the cards go and shuffle. Now, when you are playing the 2 or 3 draw and shuffle, if you were to get any of these 3 cards come up here, like if you were to get on the 2, if you were to pull up the draw 3 or pull up the regular shuffle, you ignore those and just draw the others and then shuffle at the end of it. So it's basically just one less card you're having to draw there. So you can see that the draw and shuffle cards and the door lock cards can make the game a bit more complicated, as well as having to take the treasures all out in order. Having to take the treasures out in order really brings up the complication of the game quite a bit. So as I said, this is not a real complicated game. For being such a simple game, it is a real fun co-op game. This is something very good to start with to get it's good with kids to get them into the idea of co-op games, of playing all together as a team. It's also entertaining for adults. We actually play this a fair bit just because it's a pretty simple game. It's not real heavy, but you still have to like work on strategy and everything with each other. And like any good co-op game, teamwork is important for it. And it's also good, like any co-op game, to be able to have ways to change the difficulty with the basic game and the advanced game, because you'll start to figure out all the tricks with it. So you'll need to go to the advanced game, and then that makes it harder. What do you think of this game? Well, leave your thoughts down in the comment section for me, and tell me anything else you have to say about it down there. You can give this video a thumbs up and a like. That's great. Lets me know that you like it and helps out a lot. Also, you can subscribe to my channel to make sure you catch all the videos that I post so you don't miss anything. This is Jeremy with To The Tabletop, and we'll see you around next time.